Afghanistan. In Kandahar, as one example, 158 of those soldiers paid the ultimate sacrifice. One of our diplomats paid the ultimate sacrifice. Thousands more were injured. 30 of our soldiers won the American Bronze Star for service in combat, for courage in combat. It's an extraordinary contribution for liberty, for freedom, for human rights, defending the United States, defending Canadian values. Everyone should recognize that. All Canadians are in their debt. Now, I think you had a second part, but
on Greenland.
On Greenland.
Do you think that's settled, or and would you consider?
I think that I thought from the start the following, which is, and this is a point, by the way, I made at the NATO summit in June. The importance of reinforcing Arctic security across the entire Arctic theater, to use that term, which very much includes Greenland, Northern Arctic, the Nordic countries as well. It has been the view of this government that NATO has not put enough emphasis on that. Canada is putting emphasis since we've come into office. We put emphasis on that. And that the solution to the security needs of Greenland, but the entire Arctic region, is coordinated through NATO. First and foremost, Canada will take responsibility for our Arctic, but working in conjunction with others. We have close and deepening cooperation with the Nordic Baltic 8 group of countries. I've met with the NATO Secretary General on a couple of occasions, 3 occasions now, about this issue. I think by reinforcing that security umbrella, it addresses the fundamental needs of those countries. Denmark addresses the fundamental needs of Greenland, helps support security in Canada. So that aspect is very much taken care of. Thank you.
Morning, Prime Minister Mike with CTV News. I just want to follow up on what Tom was asking. Are you offended by being called governor?
I mean, I think in this role you get called a lot of things, a lot of time, and I'm not going to comment on every tweet or truth or comment from whoever. So I can handle it.
As a follow-up,
but I do think this point about our troops is fundamental, and respecting our troops and the contribution that they've made.
I want to follow up on what you were saying yesterday outside of Cabinet or caucus. You said that Canada isn't pursuing a free trade agreement with China. What efforts are you or your ministers making with the Trump administration to communicate that to them so that those threats of tariffs stop?
Well, I interpreted the President's comments exactly that way, which is looking forward to a deeper, were we pursuing a deeper free trade agreement. We've made it clear. My fellow members of Cabinet, ministers, have made it clear to their counterparts that that's the case. We've made the public point. And it's obvious. Look, Canada, when we sign an agreement, we sign a trade agreement, in this case USMCA as they call it, or CUSMA as we call it, there is a clause in that agreement, Article 32.10, I believe, which says that you will not have, you have to give notice, in effect, if you're pursuing a free trade agreement with a, quote, non-market economy. That's in the eye of the beholder who defines it, but it's a definition of any of the other parties who see somebody as a non-market economy. China is one of 15 or 17 economies that the U.S. views as non-market. I can understand why they say that. So we got an agreement. If we were even considering that, which we are not and never have, we would have given notice, and then there's a very open and transparent process. Thank you.
Bonjour, Monsieur Carney. Michel Sabat, la presse canadienne. Avez-vous des excuses à présenter aux Québécois et aux francophones du Canada pour vos propos sur les plaines? Et êtes-vous confortable à être le chef du camp du non lors d'un éventuel référendum sur la souveraineté du Québec?
En ce qui concerne mes commentaires, j'ai commencé par reconnaître la lutte des francophones au début, pendant l'histoire du Canada. Et j'ai mentionné, même souligné, les efforts de certaines dans notre histoire de poursuivre une politique d'assimilation. Par exemple, le report de Durham est un exemple. Il y a d'autres plus sévères que ça. Et c'est à cause, j'ai dit, c'est à cause de la résilience du peuple francophone qu'on crée le Canada, un Canada qui reconnaît deux peuples fondateurs et après un certain temps, trois peuples fondateurs, y compris le peuple autochtone. Alors, c'est un processus très difficile. Il y a la grande déportation, déplacement des Acadiens. Il y a plusieurs d'autres exemples. Alors, c'est une histoire très difficile. Mais avec temps, on a protégé et après une autre période de renforcer la langue française, la culture québécoise, la culture française, les institutions comme le Code civil et d'autres institutions. Et ça, c'est le génie du Canada. Et maintenant, le Canada n'est pas parfait, mais il y a une manière de vivre qui est mieux.
Bon, j'aurais quand même aimé vous entendre sur le qualificatif de chef du camp du non, mais je vais sauter à un autre aspect. Monsieur Poilievre dit vouloir collaborer avec le gouvernement.
Ah.
Est-ce que ça nuit à vos efforts pour convaincre d'autres conservateurs de se joindre, de traverser la Chambre?
OK. Mon approche est de collaborer, de trouver des solutions pour les Canadiens et les Canadiens. Et il y a plusieurs occasions, plusieurs opportunités pour M. Poilievre et le Parti conservateur, le Bloc, les néo-démocrates de collaborer sur, par exemple, il y aura une Ways and Means probablement dans une semaine, dans les prochains jours, probablement. On doit être prudent avec les règles parlementaires, mais tantôt, il y aura une occasion de faire le passage rapidement de ces initiatives. Il y a l'occasion maintenant de faire le passage de, c'est quoi, c'est 15, C4 et C15 qui sont le mettre en œuvre quelques aspects clés du budget. Alors, oui, j'ai hâte de collaborer avec M. Poilievre et les autres chefs.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Mackenzie Gray with Global News. Are you considering calling a snap election this spring?
I'm going to go back to the previous answer. What we're focused on is solutions for Canadians. So today's announcement, we'll be tabling legislation soon, very soon. We would love, and we think it's very important, to have collaboration so we can move that quickly through Parliament. So particularly the one-time bonus gets into people's bank accounts as quickly as possible. We still have elements of the Budget Implementation Act which have not been formally passed by Parliament, That's that tax cut for 22 million Canadians. That's the extension of the National School Food Program. That is a series of other measures that go directly to the issue that we're discussing today around affordability. We have the toughest tightening of crime legislation in living memory. It is being held up in committee, a series of bills held up in committee. We need to move forward on that, and so there's an opportunity to do that. All of that is an opportunity for the collaboration that's referenced by the Leader of the Opposition. This government is going to work hard, as we did in the fall, as we did last spring, in order to get legislation through the House.
This feels like many days we spent on the campaign. When I was covering the campaign, lots of grocery stores, lots of affordability. So you're not considering a spring election?
I don't. You can't draw that conclusion at all.
Tell me that.
Well, of course we're not. We're not. We're focused on results for Canadians. We're working through parliaments to get results for Canadians. We are securing trade deals around the world for Canadians, for the future of Canadians. We are identifying major projects for the future of Canadian. We are executing through Build Canada homes for Canadians. We're going to continue to do all of that. We have the privilege of a mandate from Canadians. We were, and I'll say one other thing, if I may, Mr. Craig. We were very clear when we ran in the last election what we intended to do. Very clear, very detailed platform, and we are delivering on that. We invite Parliament to support us in it.
Hi, Prime Minister. Emily Haas from the Globe and Mail. How much will this benefit the GST credit? How much is this benefit actually going to cost overall, like these new initiatives? And as well, what's to stop grocery retailers from raising their prices to just absorb this benefit?
Okay, so I'll answer both legs of that, obviously. The first, in terms of the numbers, and I'm saying this is a test. You're testing me in front of my minister, who knows it down to the cent. But the cost the first year is a little over $3 billion, $3.1 billion, and the reason for that is this payment, the boost, is the way I referred to it, which makes up for. If you had overall levels of inflation and then food price inflation going like that since the pandemic, can you add a third hand? It makes up for the difference between those two lines. Okay, it makes up for this. So there's the bigger amount. Then in the subsequent 4 years, there's the 25% increase in the GST credit, and there's a bit of a timing thing. So, but in effect, it goes 3.1, 1.3 billion, and then about 1.8 billion for those last 3 years, okay? There's a timing issue with, we can provide you with all the background. Key point on your second part of the question. This is not a case of taking off GST at the checkout. Now, it wouldn't happen here at Protestant. Let's just be clear. This is not happening here at Protestant Depot, which passes on savings to their customers. But what you described is a case as if you took off GST and then, well, maybe the grocery store doesn't give. This is money that goes to individuals. This is money that goes to individuals, directly to individuals. It's not based on what they spend. It's not tied here. Now, the fact, and they can spend that money on anything they want. It's Canada, it's a free country. They spend it on anything they want, as they should. Lower income Canadians, as you know, spend more of a higher share of their income on food and rent. So they're more likely to spend it on food. But there's no differentiation. I mean, they're not. There's no mechanism for what you're saying to happen.
I mean, my thinking was like, if you could raise price, you know that people are getting more money, and therefore you could just raise your price.
Well, you could say that about any aspect that grows the economy. So and I'll say as well. If I may, I'm not accepting the premise of your question, but your general point, which is around competition in the industry. And one of the things we're doing is reinforcing the Competition Bureau's oversight of the industry as a whole, plus working, and we have to work with provinces, as the Minister knows, to move towards unit label pricing so that you have a true and very visible comparator between two types of good. What is it per liter, per kilogram, per amount? And that's, particularly in this time of where we see shrinkflation, packaging change, amounts change. It's a very important development. So it's something I will be raising with the provinces on later this week at First Ministers.
And only a few pieces of your legislation that have been directly connected to your agenda have passed. So I'm thinking the most significant is probably C5. You're doing many things via regulation instead. I was just curious, do you think that Parliament matters, and what role do you think it plays in implementing your agenda?
Parliament matters tremendously, which is, I'll refer back to the previous question on the opportunity for cooperation in Parliament. And it's very important. The crime legislation, from tougher bail, tougher sentencing, protecting younger Canadians, protecting from online harms, protecting people who go to their place of worship or their community center, protecting them from harassment. All of that crime legislation is being held up. All of that is being held up in Parliament. You can't regulate any of that. Parliament matters. And that's where the opportunity is with greater collaboration. And that's why we welcome it. And we will work with all the parties in Parliament to help get the right legislation through for Canadians.
Dernière question est suivie. Yasmine?
Yasmine Mehdi avec Radio-Canada. Je veux d'abord vous entendre sur votre discours à Davos. À la lumière des menaces de tarifs de Donald Trump, qui vous a appelé gouverneur Carney, est-ce que vous regrettez certains passages de ce discours? Est-ce que vous êtes allé trop loin?
Pas de mots. Non, pas du tout, parce que j'ai décrit la situation actuelle. Il faut être honnête. Ça, c'est la situation actuelle. Que quelques puissances, quelques grandes puissances, utilisent l'intégration pour la cohésion, de changer les politiques d'un pays ou d'un autre. Alors ça, c'est la situation actuelle. Ça renforce la priorité, la nécessité de diversifier nos partenaires. Et non, et en ce qui concerne la négociation avec les États-Unis, nous avons un partenariat économique et sécuritaire remarquable. On peut améliorer ces partenariats, mais c'est une question pour négociation, pas de discours.
Et par rapport à ce que vous annoncez aujourd'hui, cette mesure fiscale, d'abord, est-ce que c'est une mesure électoraliste?
Non.
Et ensuite, expliquez-nous pourquoi ça ne fait pas augmenter l'inflation. D'abord, est-ce que c'est électoraliste?
Non, pas du tout. Pas du tout. Oui, parce que c'est un enjeu fondamental. C'est un enjeu fondamental. C'est une question de pouvoir d'achat, d'abordabilité de 12 millions de Canadiens et Canadiennes. Premier point. Deuxième point, c'est une mesure dans une série de mesures. Par exemple, nous avons commencé, le gouvernement a commencé avec la réduction des impôts pour 22 millions de Canadiens et Canadiennes et d'autres mesures comme cela. Alors, c'est une grande mesure dans une série de mesures. Il y aura des autres afin de renforcer et d'améliorer l'abordabilité des Canadiens parce que nous avons le bon plan pour renforcer notre économie, pour bâtir une économie forte, mais ça prend du temps et les pressions d'abordabilité existent maintenant.
Et dernièrement, pardon, juste expliquez-nous en quoi est-ce que ça ne va pas faire augmenter l'inflation d'injecter de l'argent dans les poches des Canadiens?
Non, I mean, dans le... OK. Moi, maintenant, et c'est difficile d'être Premier ministre et banquier central en même temps. Alors, je peux répondre à votre question. Mais il y a une question de l'indépendance de la Banque du Canada et il faut être prudent. C'est une question de l'offre et demande et